Happy Friday. We are coming to you live from our home location in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I don't know.
You forgot
And
where we are?
I know. I want to say the radio station in Attleboro, Massachusetts, but we are what is it called when you're away from we're not commuting,
I don't know.
commuting.
Just do it. Mark calls it the
Whatever.
Bat Cave. So,
but anyways, why I wanted to tell people I'm looking outside and we are it's beautiful. We just got this incredible blizzard last week, and today we are getting a lot of rain and expected to get an ice storm. Correct?
yes, I think
Later.
I think there's parts of the state that are already experiencing ice.
Yes. So, but nevertheless, it's beautiful. Cape Cod, Massachusetts is beautiful no matter what kind of weather we have. So we're very, very blessed. So I am your host, Coach Elix. With me, the one and only, my wonderful co-host. Who are you?
I am Stephen the Medium.
Together, we become Steelix, and that's a show in and of itself. But we'll talk about that some other time. But Stephen, the medium, Stephen is an attorney. For those of you listening for the first time, he's an attorney by day and a medium by night. What does that mean, Stephen?
Actually, it's sort of shifting. It's more like I'm an attorney, for the morning and the rest of the day a medium, because the medium just keeps taking over and taking over. So it's in the attorney piece is shrinking and shrinking. It just means that my career has been an attorney until just a number of years ago. I found out I was a medium. So that has just exploded, and I love it, and I'm just swimming in it, which I love.
Happy to be here. And Stephen, we're going to have an amazing show. I have a wonderful guest. Her name is Ellen Ito. She is the co-founder and CEO of Within Health Technologies, which is a medical technology company focused on mental health wellness. And we're going to talk a lot about mental health wellness in the rest of the show. But before we get to that, I wanted to first sort of check in, ask you, what are you up to? I know you're up to some pretty amazing things. So why don't you share with people what is coming up?
Well, besides the normal everyday StephenTheMedium.com website that you can make an appointment to have an appointment with me, there's a lot going on backstage. It seems like I keep saying that, and there is a lot, and we're getting closer and closer to being able to share some of the stuff. But one thing I can share is last April of 2021, you and I went out to P-Town for a couple of days, and I was part of a documentary called Lady of the Dunes, and it is getting very close for the premiere. I just found out that April 1st and April 2nd, that's going to be the premiere dates, and I am so excited. I certainly haven't seen the documentary, but the director, producer is amazing on so many different levels, and I cannot wait to see this, and I can't wait for everybody to see this. And if you want to know exactly what my part was in this documentary, you gotta watch it, because you're gonna be very impressed.
I cannot wait myself to watch it. I was there with you when you were doing the taping of the segments that you were part of, and it's a fascinating story, and I can't wait to watch myself. And I got to know Frank, the director and producer, and he is an extraordinary guy, and I feel we're very lucky to have him,
Yes.
be part of our team.
Yes, absolutely.
And you and I just recently came back from Puerto Rico.
Yes.
And that was an awesome trip. We took my 96-year-old mom, who I care for. She lives with us. She has her own in-law apartment, but she also has a home in Puerto Rico, and we're very blessed. We have the opportunity to go visit, and that was part of the deal that I made with her. That I wanted her to be with us for her safety, but we would take her back and forth as often as we could. And Puerto Rico was amazing. We had wonderful weather. We got to eat wonderful food. We got to see wonderful people. A lot of my family who, especially, Titi Eva, and my cousin Eva, and, her daughter. And it's just wonderful to get to reconnect with people who always seek us out. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, very much so. That weather could not have been any better, and because I don't know who I was saying this to, but Puerto Rico for me is a second home. I have been to Puerto Rico so many times. I know the island. I think I've been to every single town in Puerto Rico. So you and I have these favorite restaurants to go to that the food is extraordinary too. So in the venue, the atmosphere, being on the water it's just gorgeous. So we had the best time.
Gorgeous,
Yes.
in your own very unique accent. I know what accent. And we go to Ponce, which is south of Puerto Rico, which is really a lot of when people go visit the island, they focus on the metropolitan area. But I always tell people that the magic is in getting in a car and driving through other parts of the island. And Ponce is the second largest city in Puerto Rico, and it's just an absolutely gorgeous city. That's where my mom lives, and there's so many restaurants. There's so much culture, and that's how you experience Puerto Rico, like the real thing, right? Would you say that?
San Juan is beautiful, and I love San Juan because you got San Juan, you have Old San Juan. It really is beautiful. But this is definitely an exaggeration, Elix. But it's almost like stopping on an airplane ride and just staying in the airport of a particular town that you'll see a lot of cute things and things that represent that particular state or town, but you're not getting out of the airport. And I think for me, all these years, I have said many, many times that not only Ponce, but the whole west side of that island, the sunsets in Rincon, Mayagüez, riding Manatee. I mean, I know that's a little bit, more center, but that whole west side.
Yeah.
The whole west side is the best part of that island.
Yeah. And we don't discriminate. Just, I love all of Puerto Rico. So if you're listening and you're from Puerto Rico and you're from the metropolitan area, we love you. We love you.
Of
we love
course,
you.
of
Please
course.
please don't send emails or notes. Hate email because I get very hurt. But we go to the beaches in the west part of the island, and they're absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
I mean, it was really hard to leave that beach this time
Yes.
because we just went for a few days, and of course, we get to have a blizzard, so we had to cut our trip short one day, which may not seem like a lot, but it's sort of a lot when you're just taking a few days, to go. But we had to because we needed to get back here before the craziness of the blizzard, and thank God we did because this was a crazy, maddening blizzard for us.
Yes.
And then, of course, we also had some recent health situations with you.
Oh my God, who?
You want to tell people, like what you put me through the past few days?
Well, in a nutshell, put you through. I don't know what you mean. So we get back from Puerto Rico Friday, blizzard Saturday. Monday, I get out of the shower and I'm upstairs. Helix is downstairs. And before I put my shirt on, I look down at my chest. In the side of my torso is got this gigantic rash on the whole side of my torso. So I start screaming for Elix to come upstairs. Yes, like my head just fell off. And he comes running upstairs. And what's that? I'm like, I don't know what's that. So we show Consuelo and I take Benadryl. But ultimately Tuesday morning, I went to the clinic, the walk-in clinic down here on the Cape with Elix came with me, and this wonderful Elix rearranged the schedule to come with me, and I found out that it was shingles. So I have shingles, but the greatest thing, and I said this on my show Through the Static Wednesday, is that I have shingles with no pain, zero pain.
1, 2, 3. Thank God for that.
Nothing at all. So the doctors put me on a 7-day course of antiviral medication and like a daily cream. But just quickly, I just love that I am petrified when I go to the doctors. I was petrified to see that rash because I'm a baby when it comes to that. And I love the fact Elix got to come in the room with me, thank God. And the doctor comes in, she's asking me questions. And she says, "Can I see it?" And I said, "Yeah." So I stand up, I lift my shirt up, and like she looks, her eyes widen up, and Elix is sitting right there, and she said, "I've never seen that before." I'm like, "Yeah, that's good to say to me, who almost like dropped dead of a heart attack. Like, you've never seen, what do you mean you've never seen that before?" And she said, "Oh, is this the part, the little part you're talking about, and the rest is a birthmark?" And I was like, "No, there's no birthmark. This whole thing is like the sun, part of the sun just left the universe and is sitting on my torso." I know that's an exaggeration, but thank God, no pain at all. So it's already dissipating. It's fading. It's going away. So I bless the Lord and everybody else that just has me go through this with no pain.
And those of you who know Steven, no, he is not kidding. He is a baby. If you don't know Steven, he is a baby. And he was like super dramatic. When he yelled for me, I thought like there was a death. Something had happened. When my first reaction was, "Wow." And he screamed like, "What do you mean, wow? Oh my God, I'm dying. I'm like, "Oh my God, please. It's a rash, for God's sake." But anyways, nevertheless.
But I'm good.
You are good, thank
Yes.
God. But
Yes.
listen, we need to we're about to take a break, but before we do that, Stephen, today's conversation really is an important conversation because, it's a conversation about wellness for the next generation of wellness, if you will, for 2022. And I am so happy to have a guest, somebody I actually met through a friend and a colleague very recently, and I was fascinated in a conversation I had with her about her company and her business. And I think this is important. It's an important conversation, and I think I know it's going to be a conversation that can be impactful for everyone listening because the past 2 years since COVID, this pandemic has clearly taken a collective mental health toll on all of us, and our brains, our bodies are just fatigued. And, other than when eating well, exercising, meditating, there's not a lot other than medications that, we can do or we can use to help us manage some of that stress, the anxiety, the mental toughness that comes, not toughness, but the mental struggles that come with all of that, all of the things that we've experienced over the past few years. And Ellen is going to really talk about something that I think is a breakthrough product and something that we all should pay very close attention to. So let's take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna welcome my very new friend Ellen Ito. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. I am your host, Coach Helix, and with me, my wonderful co-host,
Stephen the Medium is in the house.
Stephen the Medium is in the house. Together, we become Steelix, and it's a wonderful thing to have both of us together. Today we have a wonderful show. Our show is gonna be about the next generation of wellness. I have a brand new friend as a guest. I've met her several weeks ago through another colleague and friend who introduced us, and I was so fascinated by the conversation we have. She is the co-founder and CEO of Within Health Technologies, which, by the way, is a minority-owned, women-led medical technology company focused on mental health wellness. She's the founder and executive director of Seeds to Sue International, a nonprofit focused on improving the lives of women and girls in compromised communities. I love that. She has a 20-year background in business operation, human resources, and strategy. She's a leader, an executive, a consultant, and a purpose-driven entrepreneur, which is right down my alley. I love hearing that. She has served on multiple corporate and nonprofit boards. She lives in New Jersey with her family. Ellen Ito, welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. How are you?
I'm wonderful. What a lovely introduction. And I'm just honored to be here. Thank you, Coach Helix. And I love meeting Stephen the Medium.
Yes.
Oh, nice to meet you, Ellen.
We are two for the price of one, Ellen. So you're in for a treat today. Ellen, I am, as you know, when we met several weeks ago, I was so fascinated, by the work that you do. Your company, Within Health, is doing incredible work to address the deterioration of health and wellness in the United States. You've zeroed in on the rise of stress, feeling anxiousness, lack of sleep, relentlessness, and worry that has become really more prevalent than perhaps any other time in history. In your opinion, Ellen, how do you think the coronavirus pandemic, has worsened this trend?
Oh my goodness! Well, it's amplified any stresses that people felt. It's only amplified them from individuals who found outlets by being with people, being outdoors. Remember, for a time, people couldn't even get to the gym to exercise. So many things were amplified. I think of survivors, individuals who are affected by domestic violence, right? They're trapped at home often. So it's amplified all the way around. Kids who needed to be out and with their friends exercising, that was all shut down. The things that many people loved, like sports, it just created a perfect storm that really created so much dis-ease.
Now, when we talked last time, we talked about how you saw that there was a gap in the available treatments of stress-related conditions. You noticed that beyond exercise, medication, healthy diet, the next available first-line therapies for feeling distress are pharmaceutical drugs. Can you talk a little bit about this and the need that you see for non-drug solutions?
Sure. So often Americans are well known for being impatient, right, and wanting to be in control, and there's always a desire for having that quick fix. And so one of the things I see is that it's very easy now to go to a doctor and get a script written. And this idea right now, this kind of glorification of the dream life where no one is ever supposed to feel depressed or stressed or anxious. That somehow if you're feeling those, that there's something wrong with you. And so what I see is that miss in being able to really have a presence of mind and a calmness to addressing these feelings. These are feelings of life, right? If something bad happens, you feel sad. If you are in a stressful situation, you feel stressed, and that's okay. That's part of living. But what is missing is that understanding that it is okay, and that there are tools to help you understand how to process that. One of the challenges I see is that that desire to, I'm stressed all the time. I got to go get something for this. My friend's on Xanax. My friend's on Zoloft. I got to get the same. And likewise, the way our medical practices are often set up, in the way that physicians are rated based on their patient satisfaction, often there's a lot of pressure for doctors to prescribe. And it takes more time to sit down and process those feelings. And so what I see is this gap exactly where you have your meditation practices, you have your therapists, you have your coaches who do wonderfully in terms of helping you process feelings and mood. In those situations where you can't always access this, anyone who's OCD or anxious who has difficulty meditating, they know that the hardest thing to do is sit down and breathe for 3 minutes or even 30 seconds. And so in that gap, there is a space for tools like some of the ones that we are developing to help people access some of those habits to avoid having to go down that cycle of medications and those chemical interventions that create these other side effects that are often unwanted.
Well, let's talk about that. What are those tools? How exactly are you? What exactly are you doing to deal with those challenges that you just spoke about? What is your company doing about that?
Yep. So we're developing a platform of electroceutical technologies that will help to address some of these issues. So, for example, later this year, we're going to be launching a product called Mind Vibe, which is a microcurrent, so very, very low stimulating electrical current that stimulates areas near the vagus nerve and acupuncture points on the earlobe. And there's a body of science around how vagus nerve stimulation and acupuncture point stimulation near the ears can be very helpful to helping to stabilize mood. And so we are going to be launching the Mind Vibe product as a consumer wellness product so that people can access this technology to be able to help them resolve these really stressful times.
Ellen, for those listening for the first time that may not familiar with the term the vagus nerve, can you tell them what it is and what its function is and why it really matters as it relates to this technology?
Oh, absolutely. So the vagus nerve is the longest nerve in your body. It spans from your brain all the way to your gut, and it has a number of branches that intersect with your organs, your endocrine organs, your stomach, your pituitary, all of your endocrine systems. And so it really is the super highway between your body and your brain. And good vagal health, or what they call vagal tone, really helps to make sure that your autonomic nervous system is functioning well. So going back to your high school biology class, your autonomic nervous system is that system that automatically helps to regulate your heartbeat and your breathing and the way, for example, when you eat, food moves through your body. And it also is that communication line between which your hormones are then signaled to release or to wax or wane.
Mm-hmm. Now, as I'm listening to you, and perhaps our listeners are making the connection, but I immediately make a connection in my mind to acupuncture, which is the oldest healing practice in the world. Are there parallels between, what you're talking about in acupuncture?
Sure. And so acupuncture is, and this is one of the things that our device also stimulates. Acupuncture essentially is delivering energy to different points in your meridian. And so along that same wavelength, you are, through acupuncture, you're introducing energy to certain centers that stimulate different parts of the body. And so it is related in the sense of energy work. And, for Western medicine, for a long time has eschewed acupuncture as being kind of woo-hoo, the thing that they do in the East. And, we don't really understand it, so we don't really buy into it. But there have been a number of research publications that speak to the efficacy of this energy work related to the body.
Wow. Ellen, I'm just as fascinated today, listening to you today, as I was when we talked and met for the first time several weeks ago. But listen, we have to take a break. But if you hang in there with us, we'll continue the conversation when we come back. And if there's anyone listening that has any questions for Ellen and wants to join in the conversation, you're welcome to call 508-222-1320. Ellen, will you stay with us?
Oh, absolutely. My pleasure.
Awesome. We'll be right back.
Great.
And hello and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elex. I am your host, Coach Elex. With me, the one and only my co-host, my superpower co-host.
Stephen, the medium.
Stephen the Medium, and today we're talking about the next generation of wellness. And I have a wonderful guest. She is the co-founder and CEO of Within Health Technologies, which is a minority-owned, women-led medical technology focus on mental health wellness. And we have been talking about a new product that's in development. It's called Mind Vibe. And Ellen, Stephen has a question for you.
Sure.
Ellen, hi.
Hi.
My question, Ellen, besides just being so fascinated by what you're talking about and just so excited that you're here, and someone who's come from living with anxiety my entire life, and I know how much this is going to help people, how exactly does Mind Vibe, when it is rolled out, how will it work? I mean, do you attach it to yourself, or like, how does it work?
Sure. So we actually we do have prototypes right now that we've been testing on everyone, and it's a really simple product. It is there are 2 earlobe clips that clip onto the earlobes, and those stimulate acupuncture points. And then there is a little earpiece that sits kind of like an earbud in your right ear, and a neck electrode that it's also attached to. And you turn it on. There's a little app that you use to turn it on, and you vibe out for 25 minutes. Very easy to use, and very simple. It's something that is portable. You can stick it in your pocket, and it is tremendous.
That's the great thing. I was just thinking about people that you still, regardless of what they're going through, they have their lives. And if they're traveling, the fact that it is something that is portable and they can bring with them, it's just wonderful.
And Ellen,
Yeah.
who can benefit from using this device?
So I would say everybody, but of course you can't say everybody.
Yes, you can.
So I can tell you some of the experiences we've had with it. So we do know there's just a body of science around vagus nerve stimulation to help alleviate feelings of stress and anxiety. There are medical devices that are specific, that are implanted to help with depression and anxiety. This is a wellness product. And so what we know is that for people who tend to have that kind of cycling mind, that anxiousness, kind of that chatter in the head that just won't be quiet, we've seen it be very helpful with them to just kind of calm people down. In fact, I was just letting somebody test this out this morning, who has had anxiety his whole life. And he said, this feeling that I'm having, it kind of reminds me of taking a Xanax. That I'm able to have a conversation, I'm clear, but it just kind of provides a sense of calm. And that's what we see. We also find that people who suffer from stress-related insomnia, that it seems to help with getting better quality of sleep and more sleep. We've had a couple of people testing how after they've used Mind Vibe, how it impacts their deep sleep and their REM sleep. And all of this, it makes sense in the way that you think about, or one considers bringing about neurohomeostasis. So that mild electrical impulse creates an environment where your body finds that balance, and is able to then balance your serotonin and your dopamine and your oxytocin, your feel-good hormones.
You sort of stole the thoughts in my mind, because a lot of the work that I do as an executive coach is around the neuroscience of fear and trust, right? And I talk about, the various functions of our brain, the primitive brain, the prefrontal cortex, and when you get hijacked and you go into an amygdala hijack, and that creates, increases your cortisol levels, which increases your anxiety, which puts you in this fear-based conversation. And I'm thinking to myself, how can people like, the high-performing leaders that I work with, right? These are people who are on top of the world. They're seeking a coach to get to that next level of greatness. Yet they get hijacked. They have those moments where the primitive brain takes over, and they go into that 5 feet protect defend mode. How can something like this be of benefit to them in their careers and their personal lives?
Coach Elix, I'm so glad you asked that question, because one of the things we see with people is after they've used Mind Vibe and they've started to experience kind of that calm, we find that they become more open. And as you know, as a coach, when you're working with leaders who have usually achieved a high level of success because they have muscled their way through out of sheer will, they've done things and it's gotten them a level of success. And so when somebody gets hijacked, as you say, and they get, they have a level of anxiety where there is that resistance to change, right? There's that resistance to anything that might threaten the ego. So what we find is that by getting somebody into a state of calm, where those defenses are relaxed, they're still able to think clearly. It's not like there's any foggy brain. We find that it helps people to feel more comfortable going into those scary spaces, right? And finding, going into the cave, so to speak, and finding perhaps that fear that might be limiting them.
Yeah, go ahead.
So anyway, go ahead.
No, I'm thinking from my experience as an executive coach. Of course, I talked about the neuroscience of fear and trust, and how I provide my clients with the tools to deactivate, if you will, that primitive brain and activate the prefrontal cortex, which takes us from fear-based, thoughts to trust-based thoughts. But I'm thinking that this can be a tool that could help people, right? That could provide them with an additional tool, if you will, that can help them, make that transition. Because we all experience that. Every human being experiences those moments of 5 feet protect defend. It's part of our humanness.
Absolutely. One of the things that we've experienced, our founders and myself, and I'll just give my kids as an example. I have a teenage and a 20-year-old daughter who, my daughter is very OCD and very anxious. My son, speaking of the pandemic, went through puberty during the pandemic and was incredibly depressed and anxious, which is how I became introduced to the technology. But both of our children were in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. We had a nutritional coach. We had them in exercise programs. I was trying to keep from psych med route, where all their, many of their friends had been headed down that route. And it was very difficult to get them into a state, when they were highly agitated, to be able to breathe, right? That's one of the things we always say is breathe. Just breathe, be calm. And one of the things that Mind Vibe has been able to help them to do is to learn how to breathe, where they couldn't access breathing or meditation before. After some use of this and helping them to recognize what a calm state looks like, now they are much more apt when I say, okay, let's breathe through this, for them to be able to do that. And that to me is that is one of the reasons why I left my other job and cashed out my 401k to really go launch this business.
And that speaks to your purpose-driven commitment as a leader. I have a couple of more questions. Is this something that is going to require a prescription? Do you need to go to a physician, a therapist, a psychiatrist to use the device? Is it only available for certain age groups, adults? Can it be? You talked about your teenage children. Is it also available for minors as well?
Sure. So this particular product will not require a prescription. It is we're going to market it as a wellness product under the wellness device exemption. It is very, very low skin. You can't even feel it. It's very safe. And what that means is we won't sell to any sort of indication. We won't say that this will help your depression or your anxiety or your anything that is a medically diagnosed condition. What we will say is that it helps to improve feelings of wellness, and it helps to deal with stressful situations of life. And we will only market to 18 and above, although it is, it's only because to market to children, there's more that would need to be done. So we will market only to 18 and older.
Okay.
That being said, we do have two clinical devices which have a little bit more oomph. One is an upgraded vagus stimulator, and the other is a transcranial stimulator that we have in prototype right now. Those will go a clinical route.
Okay.
So those will require, those will be used in treatment with a psychiatrist or a psychologist or a chiropractor or a coach, for example, with a prescription. But those will be then able to treat a given medical indication.
Fabulous. Ellen, we have to take another break, but if you're willing to hang in there with us, I'd love to have you back after the break. Is that okay?
Sure. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yep.
So let's take a break and we will be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. I am your host, Coach Helix. With me, my one and only co-host,
Stephen the Medium is here.
Stephen the Medium is here, and we are having a wonderful conversation today about the next generation of wellness. And leading that conversation is Ellen Ito, who is the co-founder and CEO of Weeding Health Technologies. Welcome back, Ellen.
Thank you.
And I know Stephen has another question for you. Go ahead, Stephen.
Ellen, I was curious, what would you tell the person who has experienced depression or anxiety all their life, hear about this mind vibe, and has such an amazing interest in it that if they're at their wit's end and they just want to try something different, what would you tell them if they came to you and said, but I'm afraid that it'll zap my brain, I'll be different? Just someone who may be just a little bit nervous about doing it by themselves at home and using this.
Sure. Yeah, what I would tell them is two things. First of all, I would let them know that this in and of itself is not a magic pill. Right? This in and of itself is not going to be the answer, because lifelong anxiety and depression, it is there are likely a number of factors that may be contributing to this. So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say to address your fear of getting zapped or someone's fear of getting zapped is that the current in this technology is so minimal. You can't even feel it. And there are, it does not exceed 2 milliamps. Your hair dryer has more dryer in it than this device. If you were to touch water and touch your hair dryer, it is very mild, and there's there is a lot of efficacy studies around the use of what's called transdermal or through the skin electrical stimulation that speaks to the safety of this technology, even at much higher levels of current. So what I would also say, though, is, if you have other electrical implants like a deep brain, if you have a deep brain stimulator, or if you are, if you have a pacemaker, always, we would say talk to your physician ahead of time. We wouldn't recommend it right out of the box, absolutely.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Ellen.
And I know, Ellen, that you're planning to publish the results from a pilot study early this year.
Yes. Yep.
When can listeners expect MindVibe to be available to consumers, and where can they follow up along for updates? Sure.
So if you go to the website, www.within.health, you can sign up for updates. In terms of the product itself, we're actually doing a small run of about 50 devices, and this is what we're calling our test product, which is our product that we will get out to some of our key influencers and some of our partners. This includes some clinicians who've been really anxious to work with the technology. It includes a meditation group. We recently were in talks with the Chopra Mind Body Zone, and so we're planning some activities there to let some of those members test it out and give feedback. And that testing will happen really from the February through June timeframe, and that will help to inform our final consumer product, feedback around the earpiece and the ear clips and how they like the app. And we will do a scale launch, meaning it will be available to consumers at scale in the beginning of next year. But we will certainly be doing, for individuals, we want to have as many people test this as possible. And so if you put your email in, or you can, I will talk to anybody who has interest in the technologies, just because I feel like the more people learn about it and the more they study up on it, the more interested they'll be not only in our technology, but in other ways to stimulate the vagus nerve and other tools to use. So long story short, it will be available at scale beginning of next year. We will have some for users to test between now and then, though.
Well, I can tell you that Stephen and I are raising our hands to be testers. I don't want to be arrogant enough to call myself an influencer. However, having said that, I am so fascinated. I know Stephen is as well. So fascinated by this product. I I share, Stephen is really the only person that heard the story, because I haven't been really that public about it. But, very recently, I would say over the past year or so, probably due to, what we've experienced in this pandemic, I'm experiencing high levels of anxiety, in particularly before travel. And I just I just said to Stephen during the break, I said, oh my God, I can imagine, I would love to see what this feels like, because, sometimes the anxiety is so overwhelming. And, and I'm an executive coach. I have a high level, a lot of training in trying in ways to manage the anxiety. And I struggle, with the anxiety myself. So I can definitely see that there's such a great benefit to something like this. Mind Vibe, it's definitely something that I know our listeners are gonna be on the lookout for. Stephen, anything else?
No, I just I'm just so thankful, Ellen, that you came on and just talked about this incredible technology, and kudos to you and anybody else in your company that's working with this. This is just so needed for this world.
Oh, thank you so much.
So, Ellen, again, just to make sure that everyone knows how to get a hold of you and your company, where can they, if they want to follow along for updates, where can they find you?
So go to www.within.health. And you can feel free to email me as well. I'm at ELLYN@within.health. It's an incredibly busy time.
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to make sure. ELLYN. So it's Ellen with a Y at withinhealth.com.
No, it's within.health. There's no .com. It's WITHIN.health.
Got it. Ellen, listen, thank you so much. You have been absolutely so generous with your time, giving us your attention. This is fascinating. I know that people will will want to hear other updates as the product gets launched. Would you be willing to come back?
Oh, absolutely. Very much so. I enjoy the conversation.
Beautiful. And you get two for the price of one. You get Stephen the Medium and you get Coach Helix. It doesn't get any better than that, Ellen.
I know. I love it. It's great.
Well, listen, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful weekend, Ellen.
Thanks, Ellen.
Oh, thank you very much. It was my pleasure and my honor.
Bye-bye. And with that said, we have come to the end of our show. And how amazing was this conversation, Stephen?
You know what's amazing? Putting aside the content of what Ellen was explaining, just Ellen herself, you can tell she lives and breathes this. She knows that this is going to be a help. She knows that she was placed on this earth at this point in her life to do this. That's what I love. I just love listening to her.
Well, earlier I introduced Ellen as a purpose-driven entrepreneur. And clearly she lives purpose-driven, being a purpose-driven entrepreneur, because this is clearly a purpose-driven solution for those who need it. It's really unbelievable. So, Stephen, tell everyone what your what are you, where you're available, what's happening, where can they find you?
You can find me anywhere under Stephen the Medium. Website, social media, and make sure you keep updated with me because there are things that are coming up, especially as I mentioned the documentary, and I will start giving a little bit more details as I get them, because I know there's people that have been sending me messages that are local that want to be at the premiere of Lady of the Dunes.
And Stephen also has his own show every Wednesday.
Yes, through the Static, Wednesday at 5 p.m. And also, as I mentioned, if you're interested in a reading, just go to stephenthemedium.com.
And not for nothing, but he's pretty amazing. So
I have to agree.
Well, listen, I'm telling you, and I'm not getting paid to endorse you. Just saying. This is
You're not?
this is a real endorsement. For those of you who are listening for the first time, Stephen and I have a pretty big presence in social media. So you want to follow Stephen, you want to follow me at Coach Elex, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook. One of the things that we do is we do lives together. We call them sort of behind the scenes with Stelex, Stephen and Elex. And we have a lot of fun. And often we go in the kitchen where I'm the cook. Stephen is definitely not the cook. And but he does help. He does his best. Bless his soul.
I'm getting better.
You're getting better. Yes, you haven't. The last time you tried doing crostinis, you didn't burn them.
I didn't set the house on fire, so that's good.
Or exactly. So I'm grateful. But anyways, they're fun. They make you laugh. Stephen also does readings for those who join. So if you follow us, you can be part of our regular Facebook. Sometimes we do Instagram lives as well. And we do them mostly through Stephen the Medium, and then, you get access through Coach Elex as well. But that's one of the things that I would invite you guys to follow us, find us on social media and follow us. And if anyone, again, I said this during Stephen's show, if you guys have any suggestions of things that we could take on, recipes that you'd like us to try in the kitchen, send them to us. Send us what do you call it? A text, or not a text? What is that called, Stephen?
A DM.
A DM, and we will take somebody's advice and have a little fun with you guys. So it's the end of our show. Wherever you are, I hope you are safe, that you are keeping yourself warm, and that you have absolutely fabulous weekends. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.